They say if you gaze long enough into a fractured mirror, the reflection looking back eventually stops being your own. That metaphor fit my marriage perfectly, a seemingly flawless image that slowly fractured until it crumbled in my hands. Before diving into what became one of the most unforgettable chapters of my life, take a second to tell us where you're watching from. And if this story grips you like it did me, don't forget to subscribe for more. It all started one late evening. Celeste walked in, visibly drained. The sharp tap of her heels echoed against the hardwood floor while I sat at my desk, the soft yellow glow of my lamp highlighting the stack of papers I'd been reviewing. I looked up, smiled, but she walked right past me. "Tough day?" I asked gently. "Yeah, just work," she muttered without making eye contact. Her purse hit the chair as she disappeared into the bathroom. Water started running in the distance, but my mind couldn't focus anymore. Something intangible crept under my skin, a chill I couldn't explain. I thought about the credit card statement from last week. A luxury restaurant I'd never been to, at least not with her. Then there were the late nights, the clinging scent of unfamiliar cologne, the sudden silences during phone calls when I entered the room, and the blank spaces where texts used to be. Each moment seemed harmless on its own, but now they all lined up like dominoes waiting to fall. I didn't have proof yet, but I knew. Deep down I knew. And once doubt takes root, it never lets go. A week passed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The air between Celeste and me felt heavier with each passing day, like we were breathing different realities under the same roof. That evening, she came home even later than usual. Her expression was drained, her shoulders sagging under some invisible weight. But I wasn't going to let her walk past me this time. "We need to talk," I said, calm but unwavering. She paused, one eyebrow raised as if I'd asked something absurd. "Graham, I've had a terrible day. Can this wait?" "No," I said flatly, locking eyes with her. "It really can't." With a sigh, she dropped her purse again and crossed her arms. "All right, what's this about?" I took a step forward. "Tell me about the nights you've been coming home late. The texts that vanish. The restaurant bill from a place we've never gone to together." Her eyes shifted, just for a moment. But that flicker was all I needed. "You're really accusing me over some credit card charges and work messages?" she snapped. "It's not just that," I replied quietly. "It's how you treat me lately. Like I'm the one intruding." She laughed, cold and empty. "You're being paranoid. What, you think I'm cheating?" I didn't answer, because her response already said enough. She crossed her arms tighter. "Maybe the issue isn't me. Maybe it's you. You're always buried in your research, in your business. Did you ever stop to notice how distant you've become?" A fire lit inside me, but I held it down. "So now it's my fault you're pulling away?" Her shrug was indifferent. "Maybe you should ask yourself why I feel the way I do." And just like that, the final thread snapped. She walked off, leaving me alone in the hallway, 1,000 unanswered questions ringing louder than her footsteps. That night, something shifted. Celeste became a stranger. Or maybe she'd always been one, and I had just refused to see it. From that night on, the distance between us wasn't just emotional, it was physical. Celeste stopped pretending. She started sleeping in her home office, claiming she had urgent financial reports to finish. When I'd peek in to say goodnight, she barely acknowledged me, her eyes glued to her screen. We used to share quiet mornings, coffee, toast, casual conversation before we each left for work. But now, she made sure to be gone before I even came downstairs. No note, no goodbye, just the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the empty kitchen. Even a simple touch felt foreign. If I reached for her hand, she would subtly shift away, as if my skin carried some invisible guilt I wasn't aware of. Then came the missed nights. The meeting ran over. I had to stay behind with the team. "Don't wait up. It's a financial conference in San Francisco, remember?" But I didn't remember. Not because I was forgetful, because none of it had ever been discussed. Still, I had no hard proof. Just intuition. Just the way every sentence out of her mouth felt like it had been practiced in a mirror. But I could feel it, the lies, like static in the air between us. And yet, the affair wasn't the worst part. What shattered me was something far more calculated. A betrayal that didn't just target my heart, but the very company I had built from the ground up. I started noticing discrepancies in internal documents, reports altered without my signature, transactions that didn't match the balance sheets. One name kept reappearing, Nathan Reading. Celeste mentioned him before. A consultant, supposedly. but his name showed up too often, too conveniently. Then, one night, I heard her. I was walking past my office when her voice caught my attention. She was on the phone, confident, cold. "Nathan, we need to slow down. If Graham starts suspecting anything, the entire plan collapses. No, the board isn't aware yet. But once it's done, you'll be in charge, and Graham? He'll be left with nothing." I stopped breathing. She didn't see me. Or maybe she didn't care. "We just need a little more time. He still trusts me, long enough for us to finish this." That was it. The final confirmation. She hadn't just betrayed our marriage. She was planning to erase me entirely. I backed away from the office door before she noticed me. My pulse was pounding, but I forced myself to remain calm. I couldn't let emotions dictate my next move. Not now. Celeste and Nathan thought they had everything under control, but they overlooked one crucial detail. I don't go down without a plan. The next morning, I contacted Daniel Carter. He wasn't just a private investigator. He was a former agent with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The man had seen every trick in the book, and then some. "I need to know exactly what she's doing," I told him. "I want real proof." Daniel didn't flinch. "You'll have it. Just give me a few days." I granted him full access to the company's financials, particularly the departments Celeste had her hands in. 3 days later, I received an encrypted file from Daniel. I opened it on my laptop and scanned the pages. And with every line I read, my chest grew tighter. Celeste hadn't just assisted Nathan. She had facilitated him, redirecting investments into fraudulent funds under his control. Shell companies, disguised transactions, millions siphoned, and I hadn't seen a dime of it. Daniel sat across from me in my office, tapping on one of the printed reports. "She's good. Covered her tracks well. But not good enough." He pointed to a highlighted section. "This is where it starts to unravel. See the repeated transfers? The fake vendor names? They're washing money through the business and prepping for a takeover." My fingers gripped the edge of the desk. All those late nights. All those brushed-off conversations. She wasn't just having an affair. She was trying to erase me from the empire I'd built. But instead of confronting her, I did something else. I smiled. Because now, I had the power. "I'm going to let them think they're winning," I told Daniel. "And when the time is right, I'll burn it all down around them." In the days that followed, I played my part to perfection. I didn't accuse Celeste. Didn't mention Nathan. I went to work, came home, kissed her cheek when she let me. I let her believe the illusion still held. And she leaned into it, hard. Celeste grew bolder. She stopped hiding her late nights. Her explanations became more casual, more careless. "Worked late with Nathan," she'd say with a shrug, not even bothering to make eye contact anymore. I just nodded, lips tight, letting her walk by without a word. She thought I was too distracted, too absorbed in spreadsheets and strategy to notice the foundation of my life crumbling beneath me. Nathan, too, got cocky. He started showing up at the office more frequently, pitching partnership ideas to the board, cozying up to investors with that same arrogant grin. He was already positioning himself for a takeover. But what neither of them realized was that every move they made only strengthened my hand. Then came the moment that confirmed it all. I arrived at the office early, earlier than even the cleaning crew. As I passed the slightly open door to the conference room, I heard her voice. "Celeste, a few more weeks, and the board will name Nathan as lead advisor. Graham will be completely sidelined. Once that happens, everything falls into place." Nathan laughed softly. "And he's still in the dark?" "Of course," she whispered. "Graham only sees what he wants to see." I stood there for a while, not breathing, not moving, letting their overconfidence tighten the noose around their own necks. Then I walked away, not out of fear, but because I needed them to keep talking, keep digging. That same day, I revised my plan. No more just collecting evidence. I would set the trap. The time for silent observation had passed. Now, it was about execution. I scheduled a private meeting with the company's largest shareholders, without notifying Celeste or Nathan. No boardroom, no official record. Just trusted allies, handpicked and informed under strict confidentiality. In that closed-door session, I laid everything bare. The evidence Daniel had compiled, wire transfers, altered documents, fake vendors, audio clips. Eyes widened, jaws clenched. What they saw wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. One older board member, a veteran of 2 market crashes and 3 corporate coups, set his jaw and said, "You've got enough to bury them." "Not yet," I replied. "First, I need them to walk into it on their own. I handed Daniel a new assignment: create a false investment opportunity. One that looked legitimate, promising, and deeply tempting. It was a trap tailored for Nathan's arrogance. The bait? A special project fund that appeared to offer high-yield returns, but was entirely fake and fully traceable. Sure enough, within days, Nathan funneled money into it, thinking he had discovered a backdoor into the company's next major investment branch. Celeste authorized the transfer under her executive access, just like she had done before. Check. And checkmate. The final move was reserved for the biggest night of the year, the annual company gala. The very event where Celeste believed she would be celebrated as the future face of the company. But in truth, it would become the stage for their fall. I kept my demeanor calm in the days leading up to it, smiled when needed, nodded at Nathan's ideas during meetings, even complimented Celeste on a proposal I'd already marked for audit. They thought I was the same distracted fool, but they had no idea they were walking straight into their own reckoning. The night of the gala arrived, a glittering event filled with champagne, polished shoes, and ambitious smiles. The grand ballroom sparkled beneath crystal chandeliers, the air thick with elegance and whispered deals. Celeste walked beside me in a striking crimson gown, radiating confidence. She smiled at the guests like a queen in her prime, believing this was her coronation. I, on the other hand, had never felt calmer. Nathan was already there, basking in attention near the bar. He raised his glass toward us in a smug toast as we entered. I offered a courteous nod, hiding the knowing look in my eyes. Celeste leaned over and whispered, "Tonight's going to be perfect." "Oh," I replied with a soft smile. "Unforgettable." As the opening speeches concluded, the chairman of the board took the stage. His voice echoed across the room. "Tonight, we celebrate excellence, integrity, vision, and the individuals who have helped shape the future of our company." Celeste straightened proudly beside me, squeezing my arm. That's when I gave the signal. A quiet nod to the AV technician in the back. The grand LED screen behind the podium flickered. First, financial graphs vanished. Then came the emails, leaked messages between Celeste and Nathan. Lines of strategy and deception. Accounts, passwords, transfers. Whispers erupted in the crowd. People craned their necks. The room fell into stunned silence. And then the audio played. Celeste's voice, crystal clear. "Just a few more weeks, and Graham will have nothing. This company will be ours." Gasps. Eyes widened. Chairs shifted. Some covered their mouths. I didn't look at Celeste right away. I didn't have to. I could feel her freeze beside me. Could hear the silence around her collapse into shame. Nathan, across the room, had gone pale. His bravado vanished like smoke. Celeste turned slowly to me. "Graham, what is this?" I took a sip of wine and finally looked her in the eye. "This," I said quietly, "is reality." The chairman of the board remained frozen at the podium, staring at the screen in disbelief. Then his voice cut through the stunned hush, firm and loaded with disappointment. "Celeste," he said slowly, "do you have an explanation for this?" She stumbled forward, visibly shaken, her voice barely steady. This is a misunderstanding. These could have been fabricated. Anyone could have." "Fabricated?" One of the senior shareholders interrupted, rising to his feet. "We received the official audit report this morning. It matches everything on that screen. Word for word. Number for number." Celeste turned, searching the room for someone, anyone, who might defend her. Her eyes found Nathan. She expected him to speak up. Instead, he shrugged. "I did what I had to for the company," Nathan said casually, taking a slow sip of his drink. "She helped me. Freely." Celeste's face contorted with disbelief. "What are you talking about?" "We planned this together." Nathan smirked. "Got proof of that." The betrayal hit her like a slap. Her jaw hung open, arms trembling. I stood quietly as the board whispered among themselves, already drafting her exit in their minds. I didn't need to raise my voice. The evidence had spoken louder than I ever could. Finally, I stepped forward. Calm. Measured. "I believe," I said, "this is the time to act." Celeste used her position to manipulate the company's finances. Nathan orchestrated the fraud. I've collected all relevant proof, and I'm prepared to submit it to federal authorities. The CEO of the board nodded, his face grave. "Effective immediately, both of you are suspended pending a full investigation." Security appeared at the edge of the ballroom. Celeste's voice cracked. No, Please, I can't lose this. I didn't mean. But no one was listening anymore. The same spotlight that once celebrated her now exposed her. She was escorted out, broken, humiliated. Nathan followed behind her, no longer the arrogant strategist, but a pale, silent figure staring at the floor. I stayed behind only long enough to walk up to the stage. I pulled a white envelope from my suit jacket and placed it on the lectern. This, I said into the microphone, is our divorce agreement. I believe no more explanation is necessary. A few gasps, a ripple of applause. Then I stepped down, walked out, and left the past behind me, for good. The next morning felt weightless. For the first time in years, I woke without the heaviness of doubt pressing on my chest. No rehearsed lies waiting at the breakfast table. No cold glances across silent rooms. Just peace. The city outside moved like always. Horns, footsteps, morning coffee runs. But for me, it was a new beginning. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages poured in from colleagues, associates, even people who once championed Celeste's supposed brilliance. Most didn't know what to say. Some offered apologies. Others just wanted to distance themselves now that the truth was out. Then Daniel called. "Nathan's scrambling," he said without preamble. "He's reaching out to every contact he's ever had, trying to get someone to back him." And I asked. No one's biting. The moment the story broke, his firm's stock tanked. The board's preparing a lawsuit. I chuckled softly. He really thought he could talk his way out. Daniel continued. "Celeste isn't doing much better. She's been calling board members, trying to salvage her name. Most won't even pick up." I didn't reply, just stared out the window, sipping my coffee. They had dug their own graves. Now they were screaming from the bottom. An hour later, my phone lit up again. Celeste. I let it ring until the last second. Then, for reasons I couldn't quite explain, answered. Her voice was hoarse. Desperate. "Graham, can we meet?" "For what?" "I don't know who else to turn to," she said quietly. "Please." Something in her tone told me she truly had no one left. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a small corner cafe, the same place we used to frequent when our love was young and untainted. It was almost cruelly ironic. She was already seated when I walked in, tucked into the farthest booth, trying to shrink into the shadows. Her hair, once styled to perfection, hung loose and lifeless. The pride in her eyes had vanished, replaced by something rawer, emptier. "Thanks for coming," she whispered as I sat across from her. I didn't answer, just waited. "I know what I did," she said quietly, fingers wrapped tight around her coffee cup. "And I know I've lost everything." "You have," I said flatly. "I was stupid," she continued. "Greedy. And I let someone like Nathan convince me that we could take shortcuts, that it was just business." I raised a hand. "Stop." She did. "This isn't about business, Celeste. You didn't just lie to the company. You lied to me. You betrayed our marriage long before the boardroom ever got involved." Her lips trembled. "I never stopped loving you." I gave her a long look. "You loved the life I gave you. Not me." Silence stretched between us. The quiet kind that only exists when two people know there's nothing left to say. "I don't want to go to prison," she said finally. "Please, help me." I leaned back in the booth, my voice like ice. "You should have thought about that before making me your scapegoat." A single tear slid down her cheek. I felt nothing. "You made your choice, Celeste. Now you live with it." I pulled out a few bills, tossed them on the table, and stood. She didn't move, just sat there, staring at the coffee in front of her like it held the pieces of the life she shattered. "Goodbye, Celeste," I said softly, and walked out. And that was the last time I ever saw her. 2 days later, the headlines hit like thunder. Financial power couple implodes. Nathan Reading arrested for fraud. I was sitting at my desk when Daniel sent the link. Beneath the bold title was Nathan's mugshot. Pale, stunned, and far from the smug mastermind he once thought himself to be. Daniel texted moments later. "He's trying to pin everything on Celeste to cut a deal. But based on the SEC's findings, she's going down too." I leaned back in my chair, a quiet satisfaction settling in my chest. No gloating, no revenge speech, just closure. The board made it official within the week. Celeste's contract terminated, and her name blacklisted from any reputable financial firm. She'd gone from the face of the future to a warning of what happens when ambition turns toxic. My sister, Bianca, sent me a cheeky message not long after. "Heard Celeste is trying to land a job at some no-name firm out west. Think they'll Google her first. I didn't reply. I didn't care. Where Celeste was, or what she tried to become, no longer mattered to me. Her chapter was over. That night, I sat on my balcony, wine in hand, watching the city lights shimmer. For once, the silence didn't sting, it soothed. No more pretending. No more half-truths in shared spaces. No more wondering who I was sleeping beside. Daniel's final update buzzed across my phone. It's done. Nathan's facing serious time. Celeste's career is dust. You won. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. I didn't win. I just reclaimed what was mine. That night, I slept deeply. No tossing, no memories clawing at the back of my mind. Just silence. Real silence. In the days that followed, everything began to shift. The company, no longer bleeding from within, began to heal. Investors who had once been dazzled by Celeste's charm quietly returned. The board reinstated me as CEO with unanimous support. I wasn't just rebuilding a business. I was restoring something deeper, my own sense of self. No more questioning glances across the dinner table. No more wondering if the woman beside me was someone I even knew. I had my identity back. My vision. My peace. One afternoon, as I left the office, I saw her again. Celeste. She was standing near the exit, waiting, not with pride, but with hesitation. No heels, no designer dress. Just a tired face and the same bag she once flaunted like a status symbol. I stopped a few feet away. "Can I have a minute?" she asked softly. I didn't answer, but I didn't walk away either. She clutched the strap of her purse like it was the only thing holding her up. I know I destroyed everything. You, the company, myself. I didn't speak. Her voice cracked. "Will you ever forgive me?" I looked at her for a long time. Not with hatred, not even sadness. Just clarity. "I don't hate you," I finally said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it certainly doesn't mean letting you back in." She nodded, biting back tears. This time, she didn't beg. I gave her a final glance, then walked past her, without anger, without regret. Just release. And that was the last time I ever laid eyes on Celeste Bradford. Time passed, and like all storms, the chaos eventually faded into background noise. I traveled more, took meetings I once pushed aside, discovered new places, new people, and slowly, the man I used to be before all the lies found his way back. I started having lunch at the cafe near my new office, the same one where I had my final conversation with Celeste. It no longer felt tainted, just quiet, peaceful, a reminder of how far I'd come. One morning, as I sipped my espresso and watched the city wake up, my phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. Nathan was sentenced. 8 years. I stared at the screen, letting it sink in. No celebration, no glee, just quiet justice. Then another message followed. No one's seen Celeste in the industry. She's disappeared. Some say California. Others say she's trying to change her name. I smiled faintly. "It's over," I replied. And it was. That reply wasn't just about a text. It was about everything. The deception, the heartbreak, the betrayal. All of it closed. I looked down at my coffee. It tasted different now. Not bitter. Not sweet. Just right. For the first time in years, I felt like my life was truly mine again. After everything, the lies, the collapse, the spectacle, what stayed with me most wasn't the pain. It was the lesson. The people we trust the most can sometimes do the deepest damage. Love can be a mask. Loyalty can be manipulated. But strength? Strength is knowing when to stop bleeding for someone who doesn't care if you live or die. Celeste and Nathan thought they had me cornered. Thought I'd crumble. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated the man behind the silence. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I didn't beg. I planned. I acted. And I reclaimed everything that mattered. I lost a lot. Years, love, peace. But in return, I gained something far more valuable, clarity. I now knew what I stood for. And that no one, no matter how close, would ever take that from me again. As I sat in that cafe, watching strangers pass by with no idea what I'd endured, I realized something. I wasn't a victim. I was a survivor. And survivors don't beg for mercy. They rebuild. They rise. And they never forget who they are. Was this ending what you expected, or did it surprise you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. If this story kept you locked in, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more real-life narratives like this one. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that come from surviving the storm. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.